Okay, we're live. Great. Welcome in. Welcome in. We're going to do the same thing as every Wednesday, and we're going to talk price books. Price books in House Call Pro, price books in spreadsheets, some upload stuff. And I am trying to figure out how to share my screen here a little bit better. I'm told that I keep looking away, and I am because of where I like to share my screen. So I think we're able to share this a little bit better now. Okay, so we can still see that. And sorry, I just have to fix up some navigation stuff. Okay, great. You can see House Call Pro and you can see a copy of the spreadsheet. Okay, fantastic. And let's get this a little bit bigger. Cool. Okay. I know I talk a lot about the spreadsheets, and a couple of weeks ago we found a pretty good issue about uploads and having if there's a fault somewhere down the line, and we had put in a formatting thing, just if the price is off, and this is if there's a misspelled part or a part that doesn't exist, it'll turn red, PNF, part not found. And what will happen is that this comes over. Okay. It comes over and shows you red here that there's an issue. And then on your upload doc, this is supposed to turn red here. All right, maybe we have a bit of an issue. Oh, nope, it's turning red. It just takes a moment. I'm going fast. I'm going very fast here. So it just takes a moment for it to populate. But it'll show that it's red. It'll show that it's red here. And then if you were to take this to House Call Pro, oh, we don't want to copy. We want to download it. We'll go to House Call and do an upload. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the price book settings, just navigation and how numbers change and the markup. This is a new doc, so let's see if we need to do any mapping. Nope, it's pulling the right information that we need. Right, the first is industry. This is plumbing. Industry UUID is blank on our sheet. It is not blank when we use the one-way import, though. Category is correct. It's just showing the preview of kitchen and bathroom. Subcategory 1 are the subcategories inside of kitchen. The first category. Service UUID is blank. Name, description, price, and cost. And there, look, we got a PNF in there, part not found. So it's pushing that data, which is very good. And then we're going to have a red flag here as well. It's showing one invalid already. Let it populate. And we have a few because we didn't enter name or anything. We just put in for the part. But it'll show you where it's red and you have it invalid, so you would go back. First thing to check is your upload doc. This is red. Go back to the services, find where it's red for service cost and for service price, and then just backtrack to find where your issue is. And we're just going to delete that. Okay. So House Call Pro is awesome. We know it's great. There was one quirk today. I can't quite remember it. It was kind of a funny one of some of the hoops you have to jump through with House Call Pro. Just the way the estimates convert over to invoices and scheduling. I talk about it a lot in the different qualities of software. There's so many out there. Housecall Pro has definitely put a lot of money into their software, and they continue to. They're continuing to work on parts of it, new features. They're going back and fixing features. I know a lot there's talk of people potentially going to Service Titan. My advice is don't go, or not just yet. Whatever your goals are, if you're shooting for 10 million and you're getting close, and it's going to be like not a rapid expansion, and you want more than 15 million, Service Titan is a place to go. But it's a supercar. You have to make sure this thing is incredibly tuned in from the setup, maintenance. It requires a bit. You need a third-party company to help onboard you and get you all set up properly. So if it is something that you're thinking about, just make sure of it. And then other platforms, they're good, but they have more quirks than Housecall Pro. Housecall Pro is really working on it, and it's at Pricebook Ninjas. We only support Housecall Pro and Service Titan on a very limited basis. Service Titan is on a very limited basis. We fully support Housecall Pro. And I'll talk about that more. I should probably make like a YouTube video about it. So some of the settings inside of Housecall Pro for your price book, this settings page is where you would control everything. Let's head back to the price book. Up here in the top right corner, your price book settings. And these are the main items that you need to change inside of Housecall Pro that go throughout your price book. The main page is where you're importing and exporting files. If you have items with flat rate services, this is where you are on Housecall, where you're building in using this calculate flat rate button and adding labor time and supplies. We have a couple of services here built in. I don't know why that was off. Head back to the settings. If you're all built into Housecall with your services, material, labor rates. Again, this is the page that you would import, export files. You can export flat rate services. It'll give you your parts, but you cannot re-import. You can only import basic information in your regular uploads. And your service price adjuster. This is a great tool. You can increase and decrease services across your book pretty quickly by a percentage amount. And you can do all services. You can break it down into the industry and then category and subcategory. You can't do individual services, but this is always pretty cool. And a service price adjuster of $10 on all of your services is not a bad idea, just so you have some wiggle room for discounts. And then it gives you a little bit of extra profit for when you are not giving discounts. Your labor rates, this one's cool. You can put all sorts of things in here. I generally use this for labor rates, dispatch fees, diagnostics, items that we really don't want marked up, and they're not a material item. We don't want to show that an item was used as a diagnostic for material. Or a trip fee. That's a hard cost to you. That's a labor rate. And we would put that inside of here, and you could add, whatever name. And again, we use this for labor rates, after hours, trip fee, regular dispatch fee, and diagnostics. Now, between your hourly cost and your hourly price, this is important. Your hourly cost is your break even per hour. And then you have to enter your hourly price, which is your fully loaded price. And this is what you want with profit. You have to calculate this outside of Housecall Pro. But putting in your cost and your hourly price gets you're reporting better. And for each service inside of House Call Pro where it shows your markup and your gross margin, this has a lot to do with that. Also with your materials. So you need to mark up this. It would be cool if there was like a quick calculator. Now, 55% gross margin is kind of a standard. I know in some trades, like between HVAC service and electrical, the margins are a little different. I know electrical is trying to shoot for 70. Now I want everybody to get 70. I want everybody to be able to make as much money as you possibly can. And now remember, gross margin markup is different than like a regular material markup, especially in House Call Pro, what we're going to get to next. I got to make a whole video about markups. Not that it's confusing to me, but it's still like, it's like a, just the way I'm going to try to break it down to be as easy as possible. But this gets you to your total markup numbers. And let's go in here. It'll be here, this markup and gross margin. So we want this to be, like an 100% markup, and then this gross margin would be probably 50, 55%. But it all has to do with your hourly rate, your cost per hour, what you're marking up, and then your material costs and the markup you choose. So the way House Call Pro does markups and the way we do our markups are the same for material. For I'm drawing a blank. For your labor rate, we do a manual calculation of that for however you want to mark up your labor rate. This tax rates is for your services. If you do not charge tax in your state, if you pay for your tax at your supply house for your parts and you do not charge tax to your clients, then this page has nothing to do with you. This is if you were to be setting up a tax rate to charge the customer. Different states, I know Massachusetts is one that you don't tax the customer, you pay for your parts. California is one where you pay for your parts, you do not tax the customer. There are some weird states like New Jersey that you charge sales tax on service calls, but not larger. They called it capital improvements. So like a water heater would count and you don't pay tax on that, or remodels. Disclaimer, I'm not a tax professional, so I do need that answer from you when we put up your book. But make sure to check with your accountant, maybe your state's website. ChatGPT is probably a good one. Do I need to charge tax on my services? And I'm sure your ChatGPTs know you pretty well. One thing to remember when you're adding your material costs is there is no tax built into it. There's no place to add that in. So let's say you're putting in your material costs in here and you get your pricing. You need to add whatever your sales tax is to that before you bring it into House Call Pro. Otherwise, you're going to be losing whatever percentage that is. And I mean, I'm seeing, 10% in some states it's pretty common. So you don't want to lose 10% of that all the time. So you want to make sure you mark up your material items by whatever percentage it is before importing to House Call Pro, because that's going to be the only way you'll account for that tax. On our Pricebook spreadsheet, we account for that. We have a column for it to calculate. And then the last tab is materials. So we can import and export. With our one-way import system, we still are able to import one way. Now, if you have an API, if you're on the Max plan, there is an automation that you can create an automated importing system to update material pricing. you then need to figure out on the other end how to update that material pricing. Hopefully you have a cool supply house. But import, export, and with the UUID number through spreadsheet, we're able to do our one-way import. Then material markup. Now, the material markup is good. The tricky part is House Call Pro only allows for one markup schedule. And the issue with this is between services and equipment, you need to make sure that this can work between the two of them. Generally, markups are a little different for service and install. And not that it's by much, but we definitely mark up our smaller fittings quite a bit. When we're doing a larger install, we don't mark it up as much. There is still a lot of profit built into it. But you do need to make sure that these are calculated properly if you are using them. We do 3 different options that we can start with, and I've been contemplating opening up 2 more and having 5 potential markup schedules that we can implement very quickly, and it just get you across all kind of profit margins so you can see exactly where you are and take that over. We do range from our first service our first markup is 1 penny to $3 in the spreadsheet. And then we get it down all the way to $2,000 to go over $2,000. So the way we have it, $0 to $3, 250%. We have 2 other markup schedules that we can quickly import in. And this works exactly like House Call Pro. We would just copy and paste this right into House Call. So between our markups here, we have those ranges. And for an install, we generally wouldn't mark up the smaller parts so much. So having the one markup, it does limit you, but when we spread that across, we can generally have a good markup. And again, we want to get you to stay in a good gross margin. That's really important. So between these markups here and your labor rates is where you're going to get your numbers to add together to come into each service and to dial in your markup and gross margin. So as of right now, this markup is not that it's low. We're on House Call Pro's generic one. It'll take me a few minutes to enter our markup, but we could probably go up a little bit. This is a very generic one. And it's not bad. It's just a big spread. But we're trying to get way more for $500. For all of these, we're getting a little bit more. And it's really important on the small parts. Hey, Rob, thanks for messaging. You were just working on this, figuring out how to keep markups on material for service jobs, but needing to modify the cost for installs. Yeah. A lot of water repipes, for example, use smaller fittings, which has the higher markup. And when you add everything together, it overinflates it. And Rob, I actually was thinking about you the other day, if you're still here, your pricing matrix, because we're trying to figure out how to build our pricing matrix 100% into House Call Pro. But because of the way it pulls a whole number, it gets you a lesser of a markup. For now, the solution to your issue is building it on a spreadsheet and importing it. That's going to be the only way. Other than that, I think you would kind of need what we were trying to figure out is how to create a markup schedule to cover like the pricing matrix and services. Yeah. Well, dude, if you need a really easy to use spreadsheet, I have one. I created a one-way import system. So with mapping the UUID numbers, you just only need to push the update one way. And it's quite easy to edit it all, the markups. And then really the one-way import would be really nice because you could do a change every 5 minutes. But yeah, I got a really nice spreadsheet that'll help you out. Literally ready to go. Not with repipes though. I was thinking about trying to make a repipe matrix. It's just on my list of to-dos. But I think it would be really cool, different footages, if you're in like a crawl space or slab home, the amount of holes you need to put in the floor or in the walls, how many stories. Yeah. Oh, cool. When you figure something out, let me know. You're a smart dude. It stinks that you say limited because I was just talking about how good House Call Pro is. And just like the odd limitations, and even where I'm battling now and what I want to create becomes, it's just like on the list. And House Call Pro has so many features. It's where like for HVAC on-call air is the good stand-in. We should connect. I do want to see what you've been working on. I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to. Yeah, I'm interested in if you have your pricing matrix built into House Call and how you have that made. We were trying to make fake part numbers and attach it to each service, but it was so hard trying to figure out the combination. But yeah, for any of your installs, equipment installs, larger installs, water heaters, repipes, built on a spreadsheet, imported into House Call Pro, and then made into an estimate template. But then it'll all flow together. From the spreadsheet, if you're using ours, with our system with the one-way import, you do your edit, you get the upload doc, it feeds right to the upload doc ready to go, download House Call Pro, and send it, and you can just keep overwriting. We've been using it now 6 months. Okay, let me read this. You're trying to figure out how not to have the pricing matrix. You think there's a way with how you're doing it modularly so you don't have to be in a position to use a generic matrix, a generic material matrix, but still trying to figure out now how, so where it's not a like $100, whether that part is $75 or somewhere in between, you're not using $100, you want to use the actual part cost. I want to create a calculator, man. That's one of my first ideas to get an app out there. Yeah. Where you could just, it's outside of House Call Pro. In House Call, you're not going to be able to figure out a way to, at least I haven't thought about it. They would have to manually, calculator would be awesome. My first app idea to get out into hands would just be a very basic calculator with the parameters you chose. And then you would just type in your information, very basic. And then if you have the API, it would be cool to send over. Ideas. Unfortunately, my staff told me that I'm at least 6 months away from implementing something new. Rob, I would like to talk to you about Ply. I'm very interested to know if you're still using it. because I want to create something material wise. But with all the parts and the updating, how it works out, how they are mapping the names for you're a dude. But yeah, I have too many ideas, and we're really trying to concrete down our price books and training. It's cool, but I would love to connect. I'll have my staff reach out and see if you're available. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that. Yeah, the how they operate. I'm curious to how they map. I know you had a pretty big database, but I'm curious how they map the names from the supply house to your names. I think as soon as I can figure that out, then I can create a material system. Material is important for the price book, as you know. Very important. So, okay, and we are about to be wrapping up time here. It's cool. You came in right at the right time. Yeah, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. I'm sure there's some stuff here that we can share. And if I can create a calculator, I'll let you know for beta. My developer's biting at the bit to build something new. He's building a CRM for us. So I got to keep him contained or else we'll go haywire. And we have weeks and weeks to continue for that. But the calculator, I think, is our first step. Because I think maybe one day in a few years, we might be able to create a very basic presentation app, which would be cool. It would be very cool. All right, I'm going to be logging off. I hope the weather's good out there in California. I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. Catch you next Wednesday, and Rob will reach out. Bye-bye. Have a good week.